Hello everyone. Welcome to the Creator of Metaphysical Store. Today we are going to be talking about moi, magical recipes and rituals. Some of these rituals and magical recipes I haven't been able to produce yet, and I hope that if someone was to use them, and they will provide great effect. One of them in particular is something that I've been really proud of. It's called a witch's stone. In the witch's stone, you pass the stone through the four elements. So first, you let it run through running water for 72 hours. Then you let it sit in the earth for another 72 hours. The third one is to let it go through the heat within 72 hours. So it could be like in a hot furnace or in the fireplace for 72 hours. You just got to be careful though, because some crystals, if you heat them too much, they break. So you want to be careful the stone you're using um, doesn't break. But I will say though that if it does break, that's okay. There are just more pieces you can share with your kid. So if it does break, it's not necessarily a bad thing. That just is a really good sign that there's a lot of energy um, in the crystal. The last step is you want to make sure that you have a conductive space. You have to get a lightning rod, you have to get a copper bowl, and you got to stick the lightning rod in the copper bowl. And you're gonna have to go out on a lightning storm in a clear field. It doesn't matter if it's in the beach, if it's somewhere, as long as it's in a clear open space and you are make sure the space where you have your lightning rod doesn't cause any fire damages, anything, but you want the crystals to actually surround the lightning rod. You want to wrap each one in copper wire. I recommend copper wire from the hardware store. And with each one, say if you have multiple pieces, you wrap them up. And then with another, while it's still wrapping, you take the rest of it and just wrap it around the crystal. This will charge it with the fifth and final element. This is the element of lightning, and it ties into the elect. It'll as lightning is created by the electromagnetic energies of Mother Earth. You're putting in a piece of Mother Earth, the planet's magic into this. Now, if you are someone who wants to create multiple stones with this, I would recommend it to be passed through your families and to have it be renewed by lightning every 3 to 6 years. Just to keep the energy supercharged. Witch's Stone is also based off a past life of mine. I use these exact five elements to create a powerful, supercharged elemental crystal using clear quartz for a staff of mine, and I was able to channel it into to do incredible acts of healing and stuff. It was a beautiful copper wand that had like these ornate leaves. It was so beautiful, and in the copper itself, like I literally had it to where it actually spun around the copper. So I actually had to wire wrap the copper, then heat it to where the copper just kind of melted over. It was so beautiful and gorgeous. I used it for electromagnetic healing to help heal the body and stuff. It was very powerful. I when I did the four elements, I did invoke the elemental spirits. I always made sure that, for example, in my lifetime, I did any creek that was going towards the west, not towards the east. For anything for air, I made sure that wind was coming in from uh, the east and placed there for 72 hours, just letting the air hit it. The fire I did in the south, and then the earth I did in the north. So I would also recommend, if you can, do it in the closest proximity to your home to add a little powerful protection magic as well. Now, that is a witch's stone. I used it in that past life. It was more towards the Celtic and Druid era. I was a Druid in that lifetime. It was so many lifetimes ago. Anyway, my next recipe is something that is a little bit more modern, and it I hope it helps you guys. So, a lot of people, when it comes to family, there's always a bit of chaos, right? There's always a little bit of chaos, right? And maybe sometimes for you guys, you want to bring the family back together. You want to kind of just bring a family reunion, just kind of reconnect with family from all around. This is great if you're a husband and wife and you have children, right? And they're kind of rowdy bunch, right? Uh, this spell is for getting the family back together, as I call it. It's a special candle that I personally designed. So the recipe requires. Hello, Kenneth Gridley. Hello. So in this recipe, it does require the use of actual rose petals. The next thing you want to have is soy wax and beeswax. The next thing that you want to make sure you have on hand is to get amber. Now, I know amber, I don't know if amber is hard to find, but the next best thing you can do is get fresh tree sap and make sure to slowly, as the wax is being boiled. I recommend pine, and that's just my personal favorite. You can get a a sap from a particular tree that is you're drawn to. I personally just use pine. So with that being said, so you slowly let as the wax is boiling and slowly melting together, you want to take your sap and slowly drizzle it in a clockwise motion. This bring and you just say this simple phrase, let my family come together with peace and harmony in mind to bring forth love and good memories and good times. Simple as that. And you're drinking. It looks like tea, and you're listening. Oh, thank you. And then you, for this one, if you want to give it a little, I don't recommend the little kick, but sometimes it does help to have a little kick. For example, say if you just have some just not really so nice people in the family, right? Say if you have this aunt that totally despises you, and you're, you know, married to her son, her nephew, right? Add that little pinch in there. I would recommend the little bit of lavender and a little bit of dragon's blood, just a half a drop of dragon's blood, and probably 2 drops of lavender. Lavender is for that peace of mind, but also for peace in general. So that is my recipe for the candle. And what you do with the rose petals is this is where it's going to come into really beautiful. This really comes into handy. So what you want to do is I haven't figured out how to do this just yet, but I want to be able to make those candles that don't have a glass container around them. If I ever figure out how to do that, I'll start making these candles available. Um, is you After the candle wax is set, you want to put the rose petals. You can use melted wax on the edges and just then stick them on there like so. Uh, that is a good. I That's what I do to some of my candles. Or if you don't want to use if you want to, excuse me, let me rephrase that. If you want to use an actual container, you can just simply glue them on and over on top of the glass container. And I would recommend some butterflies if you're hoping to transform the home into less chaoticness and more of a peaceful, good times and loving memories. The color I would recommend as well is yellow for peace. And that's why I suggest I have beeswax in the recipe, because the soy wax, number one, is really great. It's slow burning, but I combine my candle making with beeswax. I use yellow beeswax for certain candles. And now I will be honest with you, I've tried it both with grinding the flower petals and then putting them in the wax. I personally like it when it's more out on the outside of the container. But if you find that you feel drawn to bongo walk, oh, okay. What do you mean bongo walk? Um, if you, like I said, if you feel drawn to put the rose petals in the uh, candle wax, you're more than welcome to do so. I just personally feel it works better for me, and to each his own, right? To each his own. Now, my next recipe is more so for channeling lucid dreaming. I find that when it comes to dreaming, it's good to have this setup on hand. I'd recommend building a dream house. And it could literally be the house of your dreams, but this is not the kind of dream house we're talking about. We're talking about an actual dream house. It's a physical representation of your dreams. It is like a dream palace, right? So I have yet to get, I have a lot of projects on my hands right now. So, oh, well, then, I love Scotland and Ireland. I one day will move to Scotland and Ireland. I just love Stonehenge, and I love the Irish and Scottish areas. Uh, Me personally, because I am deeply connected to the fairies, I love Irish and Scotland because they have a lot of folklore about the fairies. I have met on my astral travels, Queen Titania and Queen Mab and King Oberon. They were such lovely people to meet, and I truly wish one day in my future, not just wish, I know that I'll eventually be able to move to Scotland and Ireland, but I hope that it comes sooner than I think. So I one day want to move there for sure. I want to travel everywhere first. There's a lot of places I want to go to. So anyway, so where was I going with this? What we were talking. Oh, the dream house. Thank you. Um, so your dream house doesn't have to technically be a house. It could be anything that represents you. You definitely want to include a bed. And if you can make your doll that's perfect, you can buy a miniature doll, something that represents the inner child part of you for sure. And I would recommend that this house, if you want to paint the inside, perfect. Go ahead, write your little symbols and sigils and then put them on the inside of the house. The reason why you want to make this house your own, you could build it from scratch or get a dollhouse and then do a little redecoration, right? The reason why I would make this suggestion, and this is part of my grimoire actually, is you'll be adding your crystals. That's the main thing. So there are crystals that I work with that I found to be very helpful for lucid dreaming. Amethyst, clear quartz. Clear quartz I found kept me up at night, but with the side of amethyst, it tends to balance them out. I recommend adding the angelite and celestite with a hint of obsidian. Reason being, and then I would definitely recommend if you can acquire silver flakes or like real 100% silver. It could even be a silver ring that you don't wear anymore. This is something I would recommend that you put into the dollhouse or into your handmade dream house. Now, this leads into another page in my grimoire where this particular aspect is called representational magic, and you have things that represent yourself and other people. This can create a lot of different magical, how should we say, magical castings is the word I guess I'm looking for. Great, hot, but not really too hot. Cold, but not really too cold. Yeah. So, where was I going with this? So, this deals with representation magic in the mind. So, you want to make sure whatever you have in the bedroom aspect, it deals with the mind. Especially if you're trying to lucid dream for sure. I'd recommend uh, if you're, again, it has the lucid dreaming aspect is the representation. So you're making the dollhouse for your dream house, right? Your dream house. I'd recommend there are medieval towns, mountain, hill people, purple thistles, and big ponds called locks. I love it. That's actually why I want to go back over there and move and eventually live over there because I have a lot of past life memories, including with Camelot and stuff involved. So I'm really excited. One day in the future, I know I'm going to return back to my past life and those roots. This was a lovely lifetime. Now, of course, depends on how you look at it. Lovely, yes, but being a witch sometimes was a little bit of a not so fun, but yeah. Uh, anyway, so yes. So you're using representational magic to represent your mind. This helps you tap into your mind. And in doing so, you could create while you're making the house, you're setting your intentions, right? You're building it together in your mind, but also on in physical form. This is called the first, I call it the first level, sector one of the astral plane, which is the dreamland. I call it the dreamland for short, but it has another name. Now, this particular dreamland, this physical representation of your dream space will help you travel and go to other higher astral planes or just lucid dreaming when you're trying to do work for yourself. So I'd recommend building one because if you build it, you have your energy into it. I personally would love to build one. I just don't have the materials for it yet. What is that? Okay. I don't speak emoji, but it sounds like you're having fun. So that is the dream house. Its main function is when you build it, you make it's just to help you lucid dream. It's creating your dream space. It's a specific spatial dimension where it's like your state. This is where you can either go to different realms, of course, and then also or do some shadow work, whatever you do there. At the same time, though, I personally don't recommend traveling really high in the astral dimensions unless you have an actual anchor. I say anchor because the higher you go in the astral planes, the less of a connection you and your body may have. So I would definitely recommend having an anchor of sorts, whether it be your actual dog or a crystal or something that you've had since childhood. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to suggest is something that I designed for my kids whenever I have kids. Um, it's a magical doll. I call it the wishing doll because it's gonna be filled with all your hopes and your dreams, and just the good stuff that you want your kids to experience. What you do is you take some old cloth. It could be a ragged shirt. This begins the process of what is old becomes new. You're transmuting old energy into new energy. You're helping them get through the old energy, which would be the past. So this is the old rags represent the past. What you then gotta do is you gotta bleach. Put it in bleach. It doesn't matter if it's white already, you just gotta put it in bleach. You're gonna do this for about a day and a half. You just gotta make sure it's completely bleached. Once that's done, you gotta wash it through running water, of course, and you're gonna uh, take after you rinse it out really thoroughly. You are gonna take it and let it dry out in the sun or in the wind of the rain. It doesn't matter. It just has to dry. I recommend the sun in the wind because the elemental energy, warm sun energy, oh, so good. Vitality, right? Then you gotta dye the cloth purple. Now, this is just the first of many cloths. You can make as many cloth dolls as you want. It doesn't have to be a solid purple, because I have a whole bunch of different colors I would use for my children's dolls. I have yet to have children, but when I do, I would love to make these dolls for them. Um, what you do with the dolls is you actually, with fabric dye, or if you can, attach with a fabric, right? You know how you have those little circle thingies and you put your fabric in and you sew. Well, you can sew your intention if that's what you want. You can just paint it with fabric dye, but I personally would love to just sew symbols or images of what I truly wish for them to experience, whether it be good fortune. I'd sew a coin, a gold coin to be specific. I would love to have them experience wisdom. I'd depict a silver fountain, right? So on and so forth. So that's where it gets fun part. So yeah, so with the doll, you sew in your intentions or your symbols or whatever however you want to put symbolize what you wish, what you hope, and what you dream for them to experience. As long as it's positive. I mean, if you want your kid to have experience negative, that's on you. But I personally want my kid to have positive stuff. So Yes. Um, with that being said, you can then choose to stuff it in the cloth, like in the stuffing, or you could choose to have it be a part of the outside of the body, like in the you know how they have the body, so you could choose to have it as part of the body, or you could put it in the with the stuffing and do it that way. It depends on your preference. I personally would love to uh, use it as part of the body and then have it stuff it with cotton. I personally love to mix mine with cinnamon. I actually take a little bit of cinnamon and I take the cotton swabs and I would take the cotton swabs after I dip them in oils of scented oils. I would then dip it in the cinnamon for success and then just pop them in there. Good morning, Rise and Shine. Uh, yeah, you said that already. I missed my army life. Okay. Sorry to hear that. Um, so after you make the body of the doll, here comes the fun part is the shirt. So you could just actually sew a shirt on or you can make a shirt for him to wear. This is where I kind of not divulge, I get more into is I make clothing for the dolls. Now, I don't professionally make clothing in actual dolls. Don't think I would be consider myself an expert. I do make voodoo dolls, but that's different from the dolls that I'm talking about here. So, with the shirt, you could like sew different symbols up in the hems of the shirt, right? The miniature shirt. You could do like little clothing where it has like a certain symbol, or a message, and you have these prepared for the doll. Same with the pants, or if you want it to be for a girl, skirt, whatever. Um, with that being said, this is what I call the wishing doll because you put your hopes, your dreams, and your wishes for your children into the doll itself. I have made this for a friend of mine for their children, and I didn't really think about it too much until years later. She told me that she asked me, like, "Oh, do you remember that doll that you made for so and so?" And I said, "Yeah." And you remember what you put into it? Yeah. And because I told her what I put intention wise into it, and I said, yeah, I put in that I wanted him to be successful, to uh, forge his own path, to be independent, strong, brave, good stuff. And she said, well, come to find out, he is now an entrepreneur who has his own company. And it was like, wow. So very financially successful, forging his own path and being independent in his own company is so beautiful, right? So that is the wishing doll. There are of course many other methods of making dolls. I just prefer the one with the cotton stuffing instead of with the scents and stuff. Makes it smell super good. Let's see. So now here comes another fun little thing that I want to make a suggestion of. So with if you have a spare table that you can put by your bed, have a mirror. I would recommend getting a pure 100% silver mirror, but again, that is expensive, so no worries. You can just get a regular glass mirror if you want to, if that's something you prefer. What you're going to do is spray paint the back of it in black with a white dot in the center of the mirror. You're gonna have that. Put it back in the frame and put it on your bedside table. What you're then going to do is take two white candles or two blue candles, depending on your preference. If you're wanting more for the calming sensation, blue would be your best choice. If you're wanting the protection sensation, white would be your best choice. Or if you just want good dreams, lavender scented purple candles would also be a good choice. Scorpio. Okay. Okay. Um, Kenneth Grenley, I am trying to concentrate on the recipes that I'm sharing. So I would appreciate because I love the enthusiasm, I love the emojis, but it is distracting me. I'm super sorry to have to say this, but could you kind of tone it down on the emojis? I'm super sorry. It's just every time I see the emojis, I keep getting distracted and I lose track of thoughts. Sorry, love. So, um, so you take the mirror, the two candle holders. I'd recommend getting silver painted or a black or white candle holders. Which then after that, you're gonna take about a medium-sized amethyst stone and a nice-sized Indolite and Celestite. I was in the town centers. I was swimming in whiskey. Well, trying to stay out of trouble. Well, I'm sure once you get home, you'll stay completely out of trouble. I wish you the best of luck. Um, Sending good vibes. So, anyway, so what you're gonna do with the right? I understand. All right, I'll do it. I think it would be best that you focus on going home, Keyleth Grinley, and I feel as though instead of distracting yourself with me, I think you should go home if you're swimming in whiskey and you said, sounds like you're saying you're drunk, but I don't know if you are, so I'm not saying you are or you're not, but I would recommend you go home and just lie down and take a nap. Then in the morning, take a tablespoon of salt and put it under your tongue, okay? I hope that helps. I wish you the best of luck and drink plenty of water tomorrow because you're going to be dehydrated after all this. Um, so where was I? Okay, so this little ritual, I forgot to introduce this little ritual that I'm speaking of. This is more of a scrying ritual where you have the two candles. This represents both sides of the coin. It represents light and dark, the aspects of both sides. So the fire in the fire is to represent the mental perspectives of the negative and positive, the light and dark of mine and theirs, vice versa. Excuse me. What you're going to do is take the two candles and put them directly in the east and the west corners. Then what you're going to do is take the amethyst, the angelite, and the celestite and put it in a triangle motion. Okay? Complete triangle. Um, when you do that, you're going to write your intention on it and put it on a disc. I actually have one that I want to show you guys really quick, so that way you can understand what I'm referencing to. This is what I'm going to be referencing. So you're going to put your intention on a piece of paper, write it on the and place it. So you write it and place it on the tree of the flower of life thingy. This is my flower of life altar jar. You don't necessarily have to have this one in specific. It could be a tree of life, a flower of life, whatever it may be. And this helps with not only for scrying your answers out. I'd recommend to have a notebook and pen on paper, because after you write your intention of what you're trying to look for, you stare into the mirror, and it must be completely dark. No light except for the light of the candles itself. Okay. Once you do that, you're gonna let the candles, as the light reflects and refracts on the mirror, you're gonna let yourself kind of be entranced by the light that's being refracted by the candles. In doing so, you'll slip into a trance state, and that's when you also gotta keep repeating your intention until you feel ready to just kind of stop repeating it in your head and just allow yourself to be guided to the answers you seek. That is one way to get any intentions or uh, getting any information. The second thing I would suggest is having this would be a good altar space just to simply have your affirmations or your intentions. And it is believed that on the harvest moon, on of a full moon, harvest moon in October, if you leave an apple on, you eat an apple in front of the mirror, it is believed that you'll be able to see that your true love. I don't know if that's true or not. I never tried it out, but who knows? Now, my next one is more for self love and self care. So, with this particular recipe, it is more of an oil than it is. You can probably turn it into an actual nice lotion, but it's more for your hair. So, of course, I would recommend that you get coconut oil. And what you're going to do with the coconut oil is you're going to add a little bit of cinnamon to your powder, like actual like cinnamon sticks or won't work, or chips won't work, but you can grind those up and put them in there if you wish. So I say the powder. So you put the powdered cinnamon in there. You're gonna take rose petals oil, not the petals itself, but rose petal oil. I recommend doTERRA rose petal oil, and you're gonna put that in there as well. With, of course, some grapefruit and other citrus fruits that you may feel drawn to. I recommend grapefruit, orange, and lemon. That's just my choice, but you don't have to. What you're gonna do after that, after you add those oils in, you're gonna let it heat up in a small pot. So you want to make sure, the reason why you got to heat it up is because this is the second step of the process. You're going to add actual herbs. Now, I recommend getting a one of those strainer dishes that you can actually sit in the oil. Now, you want to put the oil in the pot first, add your little cinnamon powder, and then your oils. That way, when it then set the strainer on top, and then allow it to slowly melt. After it melts and then starts to simmer and boil, you're gonna take your petals. I would recommend hibiscus. as well as magnolia flowers, because it just has a beautiful scent. And you can add honeysuckle flowers to it as well. This will help. Not only one, number one, I find all of these herbs to be very beneficial to my hair. Of course, I haven't made it in a while, but when I did, it made my hair very shiny, uh, less split ends, of course, and it's just really good for your hair. That's when you boil that for about 3 minutes and 33 seconds. But you must put the herbs in when it's on high. So you gotta slowly get it to where it's on high, it's super hot, then add the herbs in, and voila. The reason why I recommend 3 minutes and 33 seconds is because I find that number very magical, number one. And I also find that the number that it is, I find that that's plenty of time for allowing the extracts and nutrients to kind of diffuse into the oil. And of course, you can preserve the herbs and dry them and maybe use them for a incense burning ritual, of course. With that being said, you're going to want to transfer after, since it's piping hot, you're going to transfer it into a container that can handle the heat of the oils. So I would recommend a glass jar or something and slowly add it to the glass jar. Let it sit naturally and on its own. You don't have to put it in the fridge or the freezer. And let it naturally sit in on its own. If it continues to be a liquid form, that is good. But if it hardens, that's also good as well. It doesn't matter because you're going to be using it the same way anyway. So if it still remains in a liquid form, you're going to take the oils and just transfer them to tiny little dropper bottles that you will use on your hair, like so. Put it on your hair, and you will be brushing your hair. While you're brushing your hair with the oils, you just say, "I love myself. I believe in myself. I take care of myself because I know that I can do this." Right? So you just think affirmations for self love, and I find that the body responds to affirmations best when using the senses, especially the sense of smell and the sense of touch. I find that those are the most intimate ways for the body to ingest information better. Anyone can say I love you, but actions speak louder than words, right? So I feel like for me, in my personal experience, I created this because I was having trouble with affirmations. So, and then it turned into a beautiful routine for self love and self confidence and all that good stuff. Now, you can utilize the oil. If it turns into a thick cream, that's okay. Just rub it in a little bit. It doesn't have to take much. You could just take the little tiny bit of your finger, like right that big, right? It doesn't have to take much. Now, if you have really thick hair, I'd recommend probably twice as much and just kind of going in through your hair. Um, just make sure not to overdo it because you don't want to put too much, you don't want to put too little. So you know your hair best. And you can, if it is a thick form, you can rub it on your body and say, "Oh, I love you, I love you," and all that good stuff. So that is a beautiful self care, self love ritual that I did for myself. I still I need to get back into it. It was amazingly beautiful. So, just trying to think, what else can I suggest? What else can I suggest? Oh, so trying to think. Oh, I guess I could share with you a few spells before I go. So I had in my grimoires a special incantation that deals with the nine-pointed stars. Nine-pointed star, excuse me. With the nine-pointed star, I noticed that it reminds me a lot of the energy of nine as a gateway number, right? If you work with the number nine um, a lot, this would probably be the spell for you. This helps open portals. I created a portal spell, not really necessarily a physical portal, but more so of a energy portal that you can do in your own home. That way you can open energy and kind of letting it flow. Of course, there's a closing ritual to this as well. So what you do is you take a candle, one for each of the nine elements. Orange for fire, yellow for water. Yellow for air, excuse me, blue for water, deep blue, dark blue. Uh, Brown for earth energy, or green, but I would suggest brown. White for light, a black candle for darkness, a red candle for chaos, a purple candle for spirit, and for the energy of Maelstrom, I will have to say that that particular candle I would recommend as clear if you can find a clear candle, or it could be a um, gold or silver candle. I don't really have a particular color for the Maelstrom energy yet. I find that gold is the best choice though, so if you want to use gold, you can. Silver is okay, but I still find gold to be the most beneficial. Um, what you're gonna do in the center of the candle, you're gonna have to space them out on the floor, or if you have a nice sized table, in a nine-pointed star direction. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to take a ball of yarn and you're going to string and attach each one in a nine-pointed star. So you're going to do three, three, and then three, or you can do one, two, three, four, five. Just do it with one big circle, one big star, instead of individually doing one and three, three and three. With that being said, you're gonna write your intention, of course. Say, I choose to open my home to love or to peace, harmony, balance, right? You'll write that in, put it in the table. You would take two lodestones and put them like over the paper, like so, to weigh it flat and it sits on top. You're gonna take a crystal ball in the center to represent the spear shape of the home, or you could do a simple house, or you know, for that as well. Once that's done, you're gonna invoke the nine elemental dragons: Terrafana, Cor, Legra, Zephyr, Seal, Ignisilor, Primordia, Tempestra, Zergoro, the Luminescra, and Nocturna Raz. I hope I'm saying his name right, his or her name right. And you invoke the nine elemental dragons, ask them to help you open this portal. If you feel a crackle, or like the energy just suddenly shifted, or kind of felt pressure, know that's them responding. Now, if they don't respond, try again in three and for the next 3 days. If they don't respond within the 3 days, most likely they there's a reason behind it, for sure. So yes. Um, I will be back on line. Not today, not tomorrow, and not Friday. Definitely, I'm gonna try next week because it is Thanksgiving week this week. I am gonna head off this live, and I will see you guys next week. I hope to see you guys there for some more witchy topics. Much love. Namaste. Kisses.